Hi guys, it's Sienna. Welcome back to my channel. So please excuse, I don't know if you see any mess in the background, but please excuse any mess that you see. I didn't have time to clean up. Also, didn't really have time to do my hair today because I'm kind of rushing out later in the day. But I just wanted to pop on here and talk about some assumptions that a lot of girls get in Korea, or just a lot of assumptions about Korean girls that I sometimes get. Without further ado, I'm just going to dive really quickly into it. But yeah, I found a link on the internet talking about some stereotypes or assumptions that are related to Korean girls, and I just thought that I would go through each one of them and like talk about it as a Korean woman. And I also will be adding in my own experience or just stuff that I've heard as well. So yeah, let's get started. Number one is that Korean girls are worried about you thinking that they're easy. So I think this is in the context of like when you're going on dates, or if you're being taken out, or if you're going out, we always have that fear of like seeming like we are easy. This I think is very like case by case. Honestly, I feel like just because the norm don't really have like one night stands or like go out or like friends with benefits and stuff like that, we don't really like, we have that, you know what I mean? But like it's not the norm to have those things, and it's not really talked about a lot. But that doesn't mean that those things like don't exist. So I'm sure that there's people that like don't, like they really don't care, but I think the majority actually do care about what the other person is going to think of me. So when you're like dating in Korea, a lot of the times girls would hide their personal history with relationships, whether that be just, you know, like real like platonic, or not platonic, but just like relationships, or even little things like one night stands. Like you don't really like talk about those things. So I think that girls are definitely more cautious when it comes to, you know, going out and like going over to their house within the same week or stuff like that. I feel like it's the majority of the people are a lot more conscious about what other people might think of them. So I would say that that is kind of true, but at the same time, it's not the case for everyone. It's a very case by case, so I can't really be like that's true or false. I think specifically towards foreigners, for example, if like you're a foreign man trying to approach a Korean woman, then I definitely feel like girls are a lot more guarded, as they should be, because there's a lot of tourists or even like military men that have the wrong intentions. And so girls are likely to be a lot more cautious, and they already have like a little like idea of what you're gonna want in them, so that's always just gonna be like in the back of their minds. The next assumption is that Korean girls are very showy on social media. This is true, actually. Korean girls are very active on social media, on Instagram, or not really Facebook anymore, but that's just always been the case. Like we're all very active on social media. If a guy takes you out for dinner, you're likely going to see that post on social media. I think like I personally didn't really think of it as like a Korean thing. I think it's just more of a personality thing, but I love going on social media to like post about everything on my Instagram. But that's just like who I am, and when I'm around like my Western friends, I feel like I definitely am more into posting on social media. But when I'm around my Korean friends, it's very normal. Like we all, before we, you know, eat our food, when the food comes out, we are all taking photos, we're all tagging each other. We go out for drinks, we're posting, you know, that boomerang of like the click shots. We're all filming, we're all posting. Like I said, it's not for everyone. You might meet some like more Korean, like you might meet some Korean girls that are more reserved. They don't want to be on social media all the time, which is totally fine. But I feel like, you know, coming like looking at the general like public, I feel like it's a lot more normalized here to be posting about your everyday life on social media. Even I think with influencers and stuff, like, you know, in the Western world, I'm just gonna say Western world, but you know, places that are not really in Asia or Korea, I think they're more into like feed aesthetics and like privacy and stuff. But even if like you follow an influencer on social media that is Korean, I feel like they're more open to sharing about their personal lives just because it's like fun. Like, you know, we just think of it as fun, and I like save memories, and I like taking big pictures, I like taking selfies, and often if you go out to eat here, a lot of girls will be asking their boyfriends to take photos of them, or their boyfriends will just be on their phones and the girls be like taking selfies all the time, and it's like completely normalized. That's because, you know, we put in a lot of effort to go out and look pretty, and like we enjoy doing that stuff. And there's a lot of really cute cafes in Korea that are targeted for people taking photos, and they have these like photo zones, so you gotta take those photos. Even with guys too, it's not just for girls. I think a lot of guys would go with their friends and just like take turns taking photos and posting on social media. So I think that's like a very normalized thing. Korean girls will compare. I think with this, it just means like we tend to compare each other a lot, or we tend to compare our like boyfriends a lot. And I think this is very true. I think Korea as a whole is a very like showy society. Like we do things to show the other person, you know what I mean? We drive nice cars, we like to have all these fancy stuff, and it also aligns with wanting to show stuff on social media. And like we only show like the best of our lives on social media, like the highlights of our lives. And I think it goes with that same like, oh, I want to come off as like a girl that has her life together and like has all these things. And it's like, I'm not saying that it's like this awful thing, but it's just a fact. Like we compare ourselves a lot. It stems from, you know, even in a middle school student, we just compare ourselves. And growing up, my mom always compared me to other kids. And when you are in a relationship specifically, you're gonna go out with your girlfriends, and they're gonna be talking about what their boyfriends did for them, and then you're gonna be talking, and then it's like, okay, like I don't know, it's just like a very normal thing to do. Like it takes a lot mentally. I've often had to like distance myself from certain situations and conversations because it was really made me feel bad when it came to my mental health. But yeah, I feel like now that I'm like getting older as well, I noticed that even with moms, they tend to compare like, oh, what extracurricular activities is your child involved in, and then they're going to try to like compare what their children are doing with other people's children, because we just don't want to feel like we're falling behind. I think we want to always feel like we're like included into the conversation or like the trend or whatever. So often we're going to see what other person's wearing or doing, and then trying to also do that. Yeah, I just feel like it's just how it's always been. So if you are ever dating a Korean girl, I feel like you are going to often have to sit her down and like tell her like, don't compare yourself to other people, or don't compare other people to me. Yeah, this is just coming from personal experience actually. Like I've done that a lot, my friends have done that a lot. When I'm comparing again with like the Korean society and the Western society, I feel like we are definitely more on the showy side. Sorry if I keep glancing to the right, I can't seem to focus lately. I'm like trying to stare into the camera lens directly, because sometimes when I'm editing the video, I catch myself staring into the camera a lot, and that kind of, or not the camera, the screen a lot, and that kind of annoys me. Side note, hopefully I can get like a camera and a microphone very soon, because I feel like the quality is not the best, but it's just gonna have to do for now. Anyways, Korean girls wear makeup everywhere. I do want to debunk this, I really do, but I would say that this is true. We have this thing where it's like, this is really okay, but we have this thing where it's like, yeah, like girls love wearing makeup. We do it because it's fun, we do it for ourselves, but at the same time, it's kind of, I don't want to say it, but it's kind of to be polite to the other person. Like we always say, we want to be polite, and that is going to work. There's a lot of men in, you know, big work corporations, and I've literally had friends being approached by their male workers being like, why aren't you wearing any makeup today? Like, you need to wear makeup, you need to cover like your pimple. Or they're criticizing their makeup because it makes them, if you don't wear makeup, it makes you look like you don't really take care of yourself. So they're going to kind of relate that with your personality. And I feel like not just girls, but even guys too. Like, if you go out, guys are a lot more put together than they are in the Western world, because I feel like it's just the atmosphere here. Like, if you go ride a subway around Gangnam or Hongdae, or just anywhere, to be honest, you're not gonna see a lot of people just like in sweatpants and like no makeup. I feel like nowadays, because of Rona, we wear masks, so I'm more comfortable going to places without makeup, but it's just like polite, you know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna go see your friend, like, you wear makeup to be polite, you know what I mean? And also, like, people are going to be taking pictures together, so you don't want to be like, oh, like, I don't want to take photos because I don't have any makeup on, or like, can you not post those photos because I don't have any makeup on? But even in, you know, other places, I feel like I was more comfortable wearing like sweatpants and going to the mall just to pick up like eyeliner and go to Sephora. But in Korea, I wouldn't go to places where there's a lot of people, because I do feel very gross. Like, I feel really gross. Everyone is so, you know, they're all put together, they have their makeup on, they have their, you know, their pretty clothes, and I don't know, like, we just get ready early in the morning every day. Or in the subway, you're going to see a lot of girls putting on makeup in the subway before they meet up with their friends or boyfriend. And I feel like, yeah, girls definitely do wear more, not more makeup, I'm not saying they wear more makeup, but they wear makeup more regularly than they do in the Western, I don't want to keep saying Western world, but like, even just to go grocery shopping and stuff. People look really cute in grocery stores, like really, really cute. Yeah, and I love that. So I personally love dressing up and I love putting on makeup. So I don't mind that most days, but I do feel like if I was back in Canada, then I definitely cared less about what I looked like. I could just leave with sweatpants and Uggs and pretty much go anywhere. But in Korea, it's not really like that. Not all the time. Depends on where you go and who you go with. But yeah, people are definitely more put together here all the time. All the time. Next assumption is that Korean girls are shy and polite. I think this is a very Asian girl thing. I don't think this is just like a Korean girl thing. I do think that Korean girls are a lot more quiet, like reserved. There's a lot of like really, you know, outgoing girls at the same time, but just as a whole, again, we are more reserved. But again, I feel like this is a very like case by case situation. There's people that are more outgoing, there's people that are more shy, but we like to travel in packs or groups. So, you know, if we're going out, I'm most likely going to be with a friend, and then if a guy approaches us, we're most likely to be like staying together, you know what I mean? And then if a guy like talks to you, you're most likely going to be talking with the girl's friend as well, if that makes sense. So we're less likely to be doing stuff on our own, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I saw this like TikTok that was like, oh, if you want to date like someone that looks like an angel on the outside but like has a lot of angst inside, date a Korean girl. And I feel like that's so true. Like, on the outside, everyone is like that, you know, they look so nice and like they look so like angels and like they're smiling all the time. They're really reserved, I guess. But then once you get to know them, we can be a little bit crazy. Korean girls don't shave. I think that there is definitely a different type of self-care going on in Korea. What I mean by that is when I talk with like my Western friends, they talked about shaving their legs at a really young age, but I think it's because they do have more hair than like Asian girls, whereas Korean girls, we don't really like talk about shaving our legs. It's usually like we shave our armpits from a young age because you go to the pool and stuff like that, but most people here don't really have a lot of hair, and if you do have a lot of hair, likely that's going to be a complex since a very young age, so they're probably going to get lasered. So I wouldn't say that we don't shave, but it's more so like if we tend to not shave, it's not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need to shave our legs all the time. We don't really like need to shave I think there's like less I don't know really how to like word this properly, but for example, a lot of girls here get waxes or lasers. A lot of girls get lasers on their armpits so that you don't need to shave them. Or I think what that does is like you go in for a laser every month for about 10 months or so, about a year, and slowly it's going to lighten the hair, or it's going to thin it, or it's just going to stop hair growth permanently. And a lot of girls get that done. Same with like hair down there or on your legs. If you are more on the hairy side and it is like a big, insecurity, then you're not going to be shaving all the time. It's better just to go in for a wax or a laser. So we do talk about that. Like, we don't talk about like shaving per se. It's more so like what laser clinic do you go to, or what wax appointment do you go to. And I feel like it's not that big of a deal, honestly. Like, if you forget to shave your hair, then it's not the end of the world. Like, I think that now, maybe it's because I'm like older now, so all my friends are completely comfortable talking about these things, which I love. But yeah, I do realize that a lot of people shave in like the within my Western friends, and then in Korea we just usually just go for like a laser. It's honestly a lot more convenient as well. The very last assumption when it comes to Korean girls is that Korean girls are prudes. So I left that one to the very last topic. Korean girls are prudes. I feel like this also ties in with like us not wanting to seem too easy. We're definitely not prudes. I don't think that we are prudes, but it's more so like when you're in public, you wouldn't be talking so casually about certain things. You'll talk about all these sorts of things with your friends, but not, with people that you just met, basically. But as a whole, I feel like Korea is still a very conservative society. Like, we don't really openly talk about certain things, relationships and like one night stands and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean that there's literally no one having one night stands. I'm sure that there's a fair amount of people that still do it and like have friends with benefits and stuff like that, but we don't really talk about it all the time. And if you do have one, or if you had one in the past, you wouldn't bring it up with your current partner. Like, a lot of girls will just hide it, which I never really like understood the point in doing that, because knowing me, I feel like I like slip up all the time when I'm like lying about something, and I like, so I'd rather just be honest from the get-go. But when talking with my Korean friends, there's a lot of things that they would have done that they're like, okay, but like, I'm not gonna tell them. Like, there's no reason for them to know. And they're kind of right. Like, you don't need to know everything about, it's in the past for a reason. But we just tend to not share it all the time. But I do think that we are prudes, if that makes sense. Like, we don't comfortably talk about all these things with people that we just met. However, I'm not saying that those doesn't exist. I used to think that Korea is a very conservative society with a lot of like prudes and stuff, but then you go out and it's like even more crazy than people in the Western world. Like, if you go out clubbing, if you go to a bar, if you go out anywhere in the city past past 12 a.m. It gets really crazy. So I wouldn't say that we're like a really conservative like society. Like people know. That concludes today's video. I hope that I was able to clarify some things for you guys. If you have any assumptions about me, I would love to do one just about me because I love talking about myself. I'm just kidding. But yeah, if you have any assumptions or if you want to add anything else to what I mentioned, please feel free to do that down below. And I will be back with another video very soon. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video. It helps me keep track of what kind of content you guys like seeing on my channel a lot. And don't forget to follow me on all my social media. I'll list my Instagram and TikTok down below if you want to stay connected. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.